Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Joe Tool and welcome back to Gpblog. I've recovered from my post-season flu and that can only mean one thing. Drum roll please. It's the Gpblog end of season awards. Toby is back. We're both back. How you doing, mate?
I am very good, thank you. We've been talking about getting this done, like you said, for a few weeks now, and it's good that you're better and feeling well, so we can share our award winners with everyone.
Yep, I've recovered, got over my post-season flu, and we're ready to look back on what's been a controversial, a dramatic 2023. Not always dramatic on the track, but plenty to cover. Toby, let's get straight into the awards. Our first one goes to a driver that's just slipped under the radar a little bit, but he's still been mega impressive. Our underrated driver of the season. I'll give you the honours.
So our underrated driver of the season for 2023 is Alex Albon. He has been absolutely mega for Williams this year. And I think when you can compare his stats to Logan Sargent, you can see that he has really made the most out of the car. You can see that it's good in certain tracks and some others it's not particularly great, but he has been able to score multiple points finishes and I think ended up on 27 points, which is crazy to think that probably at the start of the year, people would have thought he would have scored maybe 10 and he's gone and almost tripled that with 27 points and looked really good and confident in the car, which is what everyone wanted to see from him. So he is our underrated driver of the season.
Yeah, he's certainly dragged a Williams car that has been pretty unpredictable all season in terms of what level of performance we're going to get. He's had Q3 results, he's had points, he's outperformed his teammate at every race in qualifying, every race, 100% record, and he's been absolutely fantastic. And I've always been a big fan of Alex Albon, so a very much deserved award, and yeah, I think we both agreed on that one, didn't we, quite quickly? Albon was the man. But a couple of honourable mentions, Oscar Piastri and Yuki Tsunoda. Tell me a bit about them.
I think, again, with Tsunoda, he's made the most out of quite a poor car. I think he had a fastest lap as well at one of the circuits. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's looked really good in that AlphaTauri, much like Albon has in the Williams. And for Piastri, it's his rookie season and he's come in and won a sprint race, got on the podium multiple times. He's just looked really good really soon, which is kind of what we expected, but I don't think people expected him to be this good and be fighting for pole position and up front with Max Verstappen when a lot of drivers couldn't do that. So all props go to Piastri and Tsunoda, but we have given Albon the winner title as such.
Yeah. Well-deserved, Alex Albon. You're our underrated driver of the season. Next up, a one-off performance. One race, that highlight, just one race, one performance of the season. So this is the individual performance of the season awards. And Toby, our winner, we could have given it to Verstappen's Grand Slam in Qatar, but by the end of the season, we were used to stuff like that. We could have given it to Liam Lawson in Singapore for scoring 2 points, more than his predecessors had scored. So Ricciardo and De Vries. But instead, we've given it to, drumroll, Perez in Baku. Now, Checo had a pretty miserable season, but for 4 weeks, it looked like he was going to be a title contender, didn't it?
Yeah, the start of season Perez form was something that everyone was kind of hoping could continue for the whole of the season, but sadly it didn't. However, this performance in Baku across the whole weekend, winning the sprint, winning the race, I think that really just shows that he can do it, and we have to give him credit for the performance he had in Azerbaijan.
Yeah, absolutely. Lawson, mega in Singapore. Like, we were all really impressed with that. But Verstappen, by the end of the year, we're used to him doing it. So if had he opened the season in Bahrain with a Grand Slam, we might have been impressed. But by the time it got to race 18-19 in Qatar, it was like, yeah, okay, he's done it again.
He could have, all of his performances across the whole year were that good that he probably could have, for the majority of his wins, won this award. But like Joe said, because of the sheer amount of wins, we kind of gave Perez the benefit of the doubt, I think, because it does highlight that he can do it, and a sprint win and a race win as well in Baku, which is a tricky circuit, shows that he probably does deserve at least to be in the nominees, and for us, in our
Yeah.
case, he's won the award.
For a little while, he was the king of the street circuits, and now he's the king of the individual performance of the season. So, from individual performance of the season to a race of the season. Now, there are only two names we're going to mention here, because on the whole, pretty well, 19 out of 22 races this season were Max Verstappen fests, weren't they, Toby? But Singapore and Australia are our two honourable mentions, or nominees, whatever you want to call them. Singapore, the only race Max didn't win, great. Australia was pretty much chaos throughout, and it made getting up at 6, 7 in the morning absolutely worth it. So, I'll hand over you to announce our winner.
So our winner is the Australian Grand Prix. And I'll quickly talk about the Singapore Grand Prix and then hand it back over to you for Australia. But Singapore was close because, like you said, it was Carlos Sainz's win and Red Bull's only non-win of the season. It was a really good race. Like we said, it's nice to see someone else on top of the podium. But the pure chaos of Australia has won us the award.
Yeah, absolutely. Australia was... It just... Max would have won by a long way had we not had safety cars and stuff. But we didn't. He didn't. We had safety cars, and it meant he won by like a second. And it was nice. You had Hamilton there. I think Russell was up there during qualifying. And it was just refreshing to see some different names out there. We had chaos with the red flags, and it just made it a little bit interesting. So yeah, Australia for me was probably the race I fondly remember the most, because there aren't many. But yeah, Australia for sure. But our next award, from the highs of an incredible race to the lows of the heartbreak of the season, Toby, this is one which I actually think it's easy for us each year to pick out a winner, because there are a fair few heartbreaks. So honourable mentions: Hamilton on pole in Hungary. Oh no, sorry, that's the wrong award. Russell in Singapore, sorry, I meant to say. He should have won the race. He should have won the race. That's unfortunate. And we actually did another video on had Russell let Hamilton overtake him earlier in the race, Hamilton would have won that Grand Prix. I think anyway. So yeah, Russell in Singapore, he ended up going off the track. But our winner, Toby, is Leclerc and Ferrari not getting second place in the World Championship. And you're going to tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, so this came down to the final race of the season, and as the laps kind of closed towards the end, Leclerc was doing some backup tactics to try and ensure that the points would work in Ferrari's favour, and it just ended up not working. And for us, we've kind of chosen this because of the actual pure heartbreak you could hear Charles Leclerc saying over team radio. You could just hear how deflated he was and how upset kind of he was feeling with the result because of how much work he'd put in probably the second half of the season as well, along with Carlos Sainz's race win in Singapore. It put them in a really good position to fight for second place, and it literally came down to the final few laps of the season. So it's more probably Charles Leclerc missing out on Ferrari's second place because of that kind of heartbreak we could hear over the team radio. But that is our winner of heartbreak of the season.
Yeah, Leclerc was certainly pretty distraught, and they were so close to it as well. Like Leclerc was dropping back, giving drivers places just to do everything they could. So yeah, Leclerc and Ferrari is our heartbreak of the season. But next, Toby, I mentioned it just now, but our moment of the season, we've gone from individual performance to race of the season to heartbreak. Now on one specific moment, one incident, we've gone for three of them. Hamilton on pole in Hungary, as I mentioned just now, came out of nowhere, shows Hamilton can still do it. We got Piastri winning the sprint in Qatar. But our winner, Toby, if you will.
Our winner of moment of the season is Carlos Sainz's win in Singapore. I think this was probably the most predictable one because it was by far the moment of the season. Red Bull finally being topped. And yeah, I think it's pretty fair shout that most people would agree with.
Yeah, I think so too. It's one of them where, well, it's the only other occasion where we've had a different team on top of the podium. So I think it kind of has to be on there. Like 21 races this season, we saw Red Bull on top of the podium. And it got a bit tedious. So for one weekend in Singapore, we got to enjoy it. And it was the fact that Red Bull was so far off it as well. Miles off it. So yeah, very much a deserved moment of the season for Carlos Sainz. It didn't get any better for Ferrari, but at least for one weekend, they were the best team on the grid. And they deserved that weekend as well. So, yeah. Toby, on to our next award, our penultimate award. A fairly controversial one. So 2 years ago, this is the third ever award of this type, we gave out the Michael Massey Award, and the 3 nominees were Michael Massey, Michael Massey, and Michael Massey. Last year, I can't actually remember who got it. However, we're back again, and we've got 2 nominees, right? We've got Hamilton and Leclerc getting disqualified in Austin for their rake, or whatever it is, their floor being too low and it being too worn out. Absolute shambles. Basically, just to clarify, the Michael Massey Award is the biggest shambles of the year. There's no other way to put it. So, yeah, Hamilton and Leclerc disqualified in Austin. And then we've got... we got the Las Vegas issues on day 1. Like, that was a complete and utter shambles. And Toby, I'll announce our winner. Our winner is, of the Michael Massey Award 2023, day 1 in Las Vegas. It was an utter shambles, and it was again at 4 a.m.
Yeah, that was quite possibly the longest morning, I think, of my life.
I think it's the longest morning in Formula One history.
Yep. I was up doing the social media that morning, and I was actually excited to see the cars on track and see what the Las Vegas circuit could kind of do. And then it just went pure, just everything just blew up, and everyone was like, what is actually going on? We had the pothole issue, and then fans weren't allowed to stay after the 2.5 hour plus delay. It was like you said, just a pure shambles, and that sums up basically the Michael Massey Award, so it fits perfectly.
Yeah, I remember that morning I wasn't on shift, so I woke up at 10 o'clock thinking, day's done, right? Pfft, like was it? No chance. 10 o'clock and they're still trying to work out how they're going to race. It was a complete and utter shambles, and it just summed up everything that's wrong with F1. Overcomplicated, too much faffing, sort the potholes out and get on with it. Sort the drain covers out and get on with it. Mate, this should have been done months ago. Just summed F1 up. So yeah, not the best situation, but congratulations, Las Vegas. You've won the Michael Massey Award, because that's all. You didn't win many fans that weekend, but you've won the Michael Massey Award. So, Toby, our last award of the season. The 2023 Gpblog Driver of the Year Award. It's been a long season. We've had some highs, we've had some lows. And I'll hand over to you to announce our nominees.
So, our 3 nominees for the 2023 Driver of the Season are Charles Leclerc of Ferrari, Lando Norris of McLaren, and the expected Max Verstappen of Red Bull Racing.
Now, Charles Leclerc did his best to drag that Ferrari to P2, didn't quite do it, still had some really good poles throughout the year, didn't he? Lando Norris, once that McLaren got good, he was a regular on the front row and a regular on the podium. Can't ask for much more when Max Verstappen, our 3rd nominee, is so far in front. And the fact that both of those took pole positions off Max shows how good they were over one lap. That Red Bull was just a freak of nature. So, Toby, who is our 2023 Driver of the Year?
Our Driver of the Year is Max Verstappen.
Imagine my shock.
Yeah, it's the most obvious and deserved award. Deserved being the very key and important word there, because he has been utterly dominant throughout the whole season, winning 19 of 22 races, having the most dominant year in F1 history. There was no way that anyone else is stepping anywhere close to this award apart from him.
Yeah, it's mainly the fact. I think in years gone by, we've tried to give it to someone else. But this year, Verstappen's done stuff no other driver has ever done before. Most consecutive race wins, most wins in a single season. Max has more wins. Also, what was it? I can't remember. He has more wins than any driver has in a single season. He's now third, I believe, on the all-time list of wins. He's got the most Red Bull wins.
He's got 54 career wins, which is
54 career wins.
Now under 50 wins behind Hamilton. So
the thing is, most of those are in 2 years.
3 years he could catch up to Hamilton's win.
Yeah, and it all depends on what Red Bull turn out, but Red Bull have been producing their 2024 car since mid-June, as far as I'm concerned. Like, that's how far in front they are. And you just can't see them being beat, can you, next season? I'd love to be proved wrong, but you can't, can you?
No, I'd love to see, like, McLaren or Mercedes be up there, because they have shown some form, as well as obviously Ferrari, because they won the only other non-Red Bull, or the only non-Red Bull race. So it would be nice to see them up there. Christian Horner thinks they might be. However, I think that's just a bit of deflecting tactics. I think he knows how dominant they're going to be again. Yeah, Red Bull are going to be up there every weekend, and it's like we probably mentioned, it's somewhat tedious seeing them on top of the podium every week. But you can't actually be angry at them, because they've put in the work and they deserve it. They are really good, and you can't take that away from them.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to hold your hands up sometimes and just say, well done. Toby, it's been an absolute pleasure spending every race, whether that be the podcast, the talk show, in the video meeting the day after. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you to you guys at home who have watched us every weekend. We've had an absolutely fantastic year. Good luck in 2024. Let's see who comes out on top, shall we?